Hello, welcome to a brand new series of Snooker Vodcasts. In today's episode, I'll be speaking to arguably the game's greatest ever player, the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan, talking about moments that shaped his career. And there he is, in the middle of lockdown, looking like he's coping with life. It's Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ronnie, how are you?
Yeah, good, Andy. Not too bad.
How are you coping with lockdown?
It's actually been all right, really. It's a bit tough for us at the moment because we haven't actually got a kitchen. So we're just making do with what we can. We've got our doors getting delivered in 5 days, and then hopefully our floors will be delivered in another 3 weeks, and then our kitchen another 4 or 5 weeks after that. So it's not ideal, but it's all right,
Do you want me to send a few pizzas round soon?
No, I'm still eating well, mate. I'm still eating well. I've got a couple of stoves down there. And we're just making do. It's like I'm in preparation for the jungle, mate.
One day you'll be doing that. Listen,
I was speaking to Phil Taylor the other day, and he said, I've been in social isolation for the last 35 years. And I thought, you know what? As a snooker player, you don't talk to no one. You're kind of stuck in a room. My whole life's been like isolated. Actually, it's good because I don't have to mingle with so many people.
But how are you dealing with not practicing then? Because you can't go out to a club at all.
Oh, that's it. That's the best part about it. I don't need it. Normally, I need to find a good excuse for myself, just like convince myself to not go and practice. Like the car needs cleaning, got to do the garden. I should really get to the gym by then. I'm like, too late to go. Now I've got like the best excuse in the world. Couldn't practice because of COVID-19. Happy days.
Well, listen, I'm excited about today's podcast because we're going to talk about big matches that shape your career. And of course, we'll start with the big one when you became UK champion at the age of 17, beating Stephen Hendry 10-6 in the final. I mean, it's an incredible achievement. Sometimes we just brush over it. For a 17-year-old to win the second biggest comp on the tour is quite bizarre. I don't think it will ever happen again. Hendry held the title before you as youngest ever winner of a major, and that was at 18 years 9 months, and you beat that. So can you even, when you look back now, can you quite believe that you achieved so much at such a young age, Ron?
In some ways, I wasn't surprised. I thought I'd have done a lot more, to be honest with you, because when I first turned pro, like I didn't really know how good the top pros were. You only watch it on TV, and sometimes you get like the highlights, and when you watch the highlights, they only show you the best bits. So, once I started playing the top pros, and I think my first real sort of insight into playing someone like Stephen Hendry was the tournament before the UK Championships, and that was in Dubai. And he beat me 6-2, but I come off the table, and basically the reason why I maybe didn't win or even get a bit close was because I showed him just a bit too much respect. But he gave me chances. I just didn't take them, and I think when I went into the next match, I kind of had a bit more belief that if I was to get them chances, as long as I took them, there shouldn't be no reason why, I couldn't compete with him, So, but obviously the pressure was all on Stephen, and no one knew me at the time, so that also helped.
Yeah, and what was it like as well? Because you didn't just beat Stephen Hendry, but you beat Stephen Hendry, 7 times champion of the world, right in the middle, if you like, of that 10-year domination. So for a young kid coming through to play what turned out to be one of the game's greatest ever players, of course, that argument will run and run between you and him. But were you fearless going into it because you had nothing to lose?
Yeah, listen, it's so much harder when you're playing someone that's younger than you, because Stephen was there, the one to be shot at. So from that moment onwards, he had me, Williams, and Higgins trying to just keep coming at him, and every time he beat us, it only made us stronger. But every time we would beat him, it'd make him a bit weaker. That's just the natural thing, So, like for me now, if I was to play someone like Higgins, it probably wouldn't put so much of a dent in him. But for him to get beat by a younger player, it would really maybe put more of a dent in him. So it's kind of like, it was harder for Hendry than it was for me in many ways.
That was, of course, your first Triple Crown win. Your next one, you had to wait 2 more years. You became Master Champion, beat John Higgins in the final, 9-3. What do you remember about that one, Ron?
I remember that I was lucky to get through the first round. I was playing John Parrott, who was a bit of a bogey man for me. I think the first 7 times that I played him, he beat me. So every time I had to play him, I just thought, this is the one guy that I just never could get near. And he had a straight blue in the middle to beat me 5-4. He missed it. I cleared up, and then I go on to win the tournament. And to play John Higgins, who is probably my biggest rival out of all of them, was fantastic to play each other in such a big final.
So you won your first Triple Crown when you were 17 in 93. You turned pro in 92, obviously. Then you won the Masters in 95. But you had to wait to 2001 to win your first world title. Why was that?
Because I just started partying, really. And the worst thing about the World Championships is so when the tournament season started, I kind of thought it started from September and it'd finish in May. So I had to kind of curb my drinking, my partying from September to May. But then come the World Championships, because it was the last tournament, I used to think if I was having a bad session, I thought as soon as this tournament's over, I've got 3 months to go and party. So if things weren't going too well, I think, sweet, let's just get out of here. So for 5-6 years, maybe from 1995 to when I won it, literally my focus was on the sooner this is over, the quicker I can get out and have some fun with my friends.
Did you feel as though there was a monkey on your back before you won it? The reason I asked that is because from the minute Judd Trump broke onto the scene, everyone was saying it's a matter of when he becomes world champion, not if. And he had to wait quite a long time, probably longer than, of course, most would have expected. Did you feel as though you had that monkey on your back, that everyone expected you to become maybe the youngest champion or a 22-year-old world champion?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it come off, it's like the most unbelievable feeling. Because you finally, like if you win it once, it doesn't matter if you don't really win it again, because at least you've got your name on that trophy, and I'm sure Judd will go and win it a few more times. But the monkey off the back is a huge, and it just allows you to go and play now, and just sort of just a matter of clocking up as many tournaments and titles as you can get.
And did it make a difference, just quickly before we move on, did it make a difference to you in that final that John had already become world champion? Did that give you a little bit more determination to make it one, or if you like?
Yeah, I think seeing John win it and Mark Williams win it before me kind of made me think, if I was to never win it, that'd be, I feel a little bit like I was the loser out of the three in many ways. So, they was always inspiring me when I see that, Higgins win it, then Williams. I thought, I have to win it. I've got to try and do all I can, and I took my game apart. I tried to change my game because Sheffield was different, it's a different type of tournament. And I just felt like I had too many inconsistencies in my game. I was either really good or really poor. And on them poor sessions, they were the ones that were killing me. So I decided to try and maybe be a little bit less reckless, tighten up my technique, and just become a bit more steady. And steady wins the World Championships, believe it or not. You don't have to play brilliant. It's nice to have one brilliant session in each match. But if you have one brilliant session in each match and steady for the rest of the other session, you win. If you're a top quality player, even if you're a mid-ranked player, sometimes it's good enough.
I want to move on from one end of the scale, your first World Championships, to the other end. Your fifth world title, where you beat Barry Hawkins 18-12 in the final, and you won it after taking a year out as well. When you came back from that year, did you honestly think, I'm in good shape, I've got a chance of winning it? Or was it, I know it's such a cliche, but was it every match one at a time?
No, I never thought I'd win it because I'd never won the World Championships and then won it the following year, ever. So, but when I got on the practice table, because I played so much snooker the year before, I kind of felt great immediately as soon as I got on the practice table. But practice and matches are totally different. So obviously I had no match practice, and you can only get that by playing matches. So I did feel that each match, parts of my game got stronger, and by the final, I think I kind of hit the highest point, where I was playing at a very, very high level. Up until then, areas my game was good, but I wasn't playing, every area wasn't great. So I kind of had to manage my game a little bit. But come the final, I didn't need to manage it. I just kind of went out there and played as aggressive as I could.
Mm. What do you remember about becoming Masters champion for a record breaking 7th time? You beat Joe Perry in the final 10-7. We, of course, were all lucky enough to be there for Team Eurosport. It was a great night. It must have been so much to you.
Yeah, again, that was one of my hardest wins. Not just a mental battle, really. I remember I had tip problems as well, and I couldn't really get any spin out the white ball. So a lot of the shots that I usually like to play, I couldn't play. And when I was screwing back, I wasn't sure how far the white was going to be coming back. So a lot of it was like guesswork and under pressure as well. That it just made it such a horrendous sort of. It was a horrible experience. It's a bit like a Formula One driver going out there and he's got 2 laps to go and he's got no tread on his tyres. And he's being chased down by the next guy behind. But it puts you under a lot of pressure. So yeah, that was a tough game, but obviously great to get to 7 Masters, and it was fantastic.
And from a 7th Master, of course, you won the UK 7 times now. Big celebrations. You beat Mark Allen 10-6 in the final. I've been talking to Jimmy and Neil about this, and one of the things that jumps off the page for me, I remember, is you, after you won it, you sat in your chair and poured a bottle of water over your head, Ron. That was quite strange.
Yeah, no, just, you get to the point in your career where you, you think, like, how many more victories are going to come? And there was an element of, through that match where the crowd got a little bit red, little section of the crowd, and I was so pumped up that once I finally got over the winning line, it just sort of like all just come out of me, and so the water over here was just my way of saying, I didn't care. I broke Hendry's record for the majors, which was for me is an important record. That's one of the only records that stays the same. You only get 3 shots at the events, so that's a real barometer of who the greats are. So I think the majors was great for me. I might not break his 7 world titles, but to break his major record was amazing.
Out of the ones we've spoken about, and I'm including the first 3 and the ones we've just talked about, which one are you most pleased about when you look back and reminisce?
I think my 3 best victories I remember was 2012 World Champs, 2013 World Champs, and I enjoyed the 2014 Masters where I beat Selby in the final. I think I played really well there. To beat someone like Selby as convincingly as I did shows that I must have been playing some really good stuff.
Right, we're going to have a quick break. More from Rocket Ronnie when we come back, and we'll be looking at some of his top breaks throughout his career. We'll see you right after this. And welcome back to part 2 of Snooker Vodcast. In this episode, I'm talking to Rocket Ronnie O'Sullivan about moments that shaped his career. Ronnie, I want to talk to you about 147s, and of course, I have to talk about the one that was the fastest one ever. You've made 15 in your career, but the one against Mick Price, which took 5 minutes and 20 seconds, was just absolutely frightening. Did you ever think you could do a maximum in 5 minutes 20? It's just ridiculous to even suggest that, isn't it?
Yeah, really, yeah. I was a lot faster then, a lot younger, much more played from I still play from instinct, but from then it was just sort of, I just think it was just youth and enthusiasm and all that sort of stuff. So, I know I wouldn't be able to do that now because I'm a different player to what I was then. So, yeah, it's still like one of the fantastic moments in snooker, I suppose.
I have to talk to you, when we're talking about great breaks you've made, even though it wasn't a ton, it was close, it was a 92. I have to talk to you about your break against Ali Carter in the final of the 2012 World Championships. 3-all, so it was early on in the match. There were about 4 or 5 balls on the cushion. When you came to the table, I don't know if you remember, but you just missed 3 separate chances, quite relatively easy for someone like you. And as you got to the table, Willie Thorne in commentary said, well, be lucky if he makes a 20 here. And then you went on to clear the table. 4 or 5 balls I mentioned on the cushion. Everyone talks quite rightly about Higgins' 69 to beat Jimmy in the semi-final of the Worlds, because that was a great break for so many reasons. Of course, the winning ball going in, he gets to the final, etc. But your break, your 92 against Carter, is, I think, up there with some of the best breaks of snooker I've ever seen. What do you remember about it, Ron?
When I watch it back, I sometimes think, why did I play that shot? Why did I do that? Why didn't I just bust them open? It'd have been a lot easier. But there's times when you're playing and you just feel like you've got the cue ball under such good control that you think, I don't want to take a risk. I'll pop the blue, get on that red, pop the red, get up or high on the blue. And so it's all like, I had the confidence that I was going to play every shot perfect. I didn't, but whenever I was out of position, I was always able to recover the shot. And obviously, like watching it back, I think, surely there was an easier way about going back, clearing that table, but I get why I chose to pick the ball off, 1 ball at a time. And listen, when you're playing that well and feeling that good, the pockets look massive, the table shrinks, it's like playing on a pool table. So, you just play each shot that's in front of you, and, at the time, it just felt like quite easy.
When I'm watching it as a fan, as every ball goes down, I'm thinking, if he clears the table, my goodness. Are you thinking that as a player when you're on the base?
No, not at all. I always go to the table thinking, not always, because some days you're just not seeing it great, but most of the time I just go to the table and I just think, I want to clear up here, and sometimes that's why I take shots on that the commentators might think you should play safe. But in my head, I'm thinking, no, this is, if you're to win tournaments and be a serial winner, you can't give up the table that easy. You have to kind of dominate the table, and sometimes you've got to take on what's considered a high risk shot. But to some of the top players, they're not as high risk as they would be for maybe some of the low ranked players. So, I've always had that mentality to try and kill the game off in one visit as many times as I can.
You certainly did that as well, of course, in the Welsh Open in the final, to win the final by knocking in a 147 against Junhui. That had so many great moments in it, including one of the greatest shots we've seen, certainly on a maximum, that red you played left-handed, the last red to get on the black, the white coming between the pink and black. What do you remember about that whole final and also that 147?
Yeah, I remember getting a good start in the afternoon, playing. I was playing very, very well. I remember, all through that tournament, I was like, I hardly lost a frame. I think the Masters, I lost about 4 frames in the whole tournament. And then in this one, I think I lost about 5 or 6 frames through the whole tournament. So in 2 tournaments, I lost 10 frames. I was absolutely flying. So, and I just remember coming into the evening, he started off with a couple of centuries, and I thought, could make a bit of a game of it. And then I won the next. And then I just remember getting left this long red and got in and, just start picking ball off the ball, knowing that obviously I was the difficult red along the cushion. So there wasn't so much pressure on me to get the 147, because I thought, well, it's highly unlikely that the time I get to that red that I'll be able to get there and get back up for the black. So, but when the red did go in left-handed and it come down like that, I was like, whoa, hello.
I've spoken to you many a time about that red, and you've told me that you potted it, you put gear on the white to bring it back, and you're just hoping to get it near the black to give you a chance of potting it and getting on the yellow.
Yeah, I never played to kind of like come anywhere near between the pink, or I just say anywhere down there I do. Just pot the red, as long as I've got some sort of shot on the black, that'd be great. But obviously, you've got an idea that it's going to come. You don't want it to go near the cushion, or you don't want it to kind of like, so you're aiming into an area really. So I knew I wouldn't be too far away from the black, but the way it landed, you couldn't have picked it up and put it there better with your hand.
Let's talk about other notable breaks that you've made. A 146 against Barry Pinches at the 2016 Welsh Open. Now, I remember reading about it. I remember seeing it. A lot of people criticise it. But let me ask you this. I've seen it many times. I've seen it coming into this interview today. You took the 14th red, right? And then you potted the black. And then you fell a little bit, I think, too low on the red to come down for the black, so it left you no option but to take the pink. Now, is that what happened, or were you always going to get a 146 in that break?
I was always going to get a 146. Yeah, there's no way to get a 147, mate. No chance.
So if there would have been a big prize for the 147, and you'd have still fallen too short on that red, you'd have tried to pot the red and go round.
100%. Yeah. I didn't even need to go round the tail. Just screwed it in a little bit aside and been on the black.
Yeah, but you did it. Was it against Ross Ballman in the UK Championships? You not did a 146 against him as well?
Yeah, I've done it there as well. Yeah, and I've done it with Ding in the World Championships. I think I've had 3 146s now.
Yeah.
It could have been maxes.
And that doesn't bother you? You're not adding to your list of maximums?
Nah.
No.
Okay.
But you know what was great, talking of 147s, when you were playing Mark King 2010 World Open. And after reading, I mean, it's just incredible. You couldn't write that script. After reading the black, you asked, I think it was Jan Verhaas, the referee, what's the prize for a 147?
Yeah. And then to get it as well.
Yeah. That was incredible. When you were asking him for that reason, because if there wasn't a big prize, you wouldn't have taken it on?
I knew it wasn't a big prize, but I then also knew that if I was to say, there should be a bigger prize for 147, this and that, you get people going, you're ungrateful, you're this, you're that. So I just thought, what's the best way to illuminate it? I thought, right, just go for the 147 and ask the ref what the prize is. Once he tells me it's that, I go, all right, I've made a 140. That'll do ya. That's it just makes it much more of an interesting talking point.
You must have got a lot of satisfaction when you made that 1,000th ton to win the Players' Championship 10-4 against Neil Robertson. Again, I was watching that back, and what stood out for me is, when you made the century, the clapping started and it continued throughout the rest of the frame when you're clearing up the colours. Your face, your expression, you just lit up. You must have enjoyed every minute of that. That must have meant a hell of a lot to you, Ron.
Yeah, it was a great moment. Fantastic moment, you know, especially to do it at the Guildhall where I won my first UK championships. You know, it's such a great playing venue. The Guildhall is, you know, you always play some of your best snookering venues like that. So to win the title and then make the century in the last round against Neil Robertson, who was a fantastic player. For me, it was like, you know, if you're going to do the 1000th century, that was the perfect place to do it. So, yeah, I was buzzing. You know, the crowd were excited, and you know, one stage I didn't know whether to carry on playing or let them carry on clapping. And you know, I thought just keep potting the balls. If they're enjoying it, I'm enjoying it. So it was a good moment.
Let's talk about some funnier moments in your career. The streaker in the final of the Masters in '97 against Davis at the fantastic venue, the Conference Centre in Wembley. A game that you went on to lose. You know, I've been talking about this actually in great detail. You went 2-0 up 2 tons, then she came on, and then the match sort of turned a little bit. What do you remember about? This is going to sound a bit loaded, this question. What do you remember about her?
Yeah, it's quite bizarre, really, because obviously, like, you know, you're there playing. The weird thing was, I was sitting opposite her, so I actually see her taking her clothes off, and I said, "What's she doing now?" And then she kind of like ran down, and she done like a couple of laps around the table, but I think she was waiting for somebody to come and like get her off, but no one would. So halfway through, I think she was feeling a little bit silly, thinking like, I'm going to. I think she was looking for someone to come and take her away and cover her up and let her get out of there. She'd come to do what she obviously came to do. But yeah, it was quite funny.
I'll tell you it was very funny as well. Barnsley 2017 English Open. You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah.
You're clearing up, and then an old lady walks on. How she managed to dodge security, I still don't know. And then you carry on clearing the table, and then you give your cue to pot the final black, which she sadly rattled. But that was just barking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was funny. You know, obviously, like, you know, she was just either a fan, a little bit. You know, I wouldn't say she wasn't all there, but you know, she was just. You could just tell she was no threat. You know what I mean? And all the security guards come running out, and everything like. I thought, I hope they don't grab her to the floor. They could like kill her or something. I went, no, hold on, slow down. Here, let her have a shot. So I gave her a shot to try. And she was happy. She took the shot, and off she went. So yeah, it was quite funny.
Ron, listen, it's been fascinating speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time. There's loads of these about on Eurosport and on iTunes. There's Snooker Vodcast, so make sure you go and watch as many as you can. But in the meantime, Ron, thanks so much for your time. Always a pleasure.
Cheers, Andy.
And thank you for your time. We'll see you again soon. From myself and Ronnie O'Sullivan, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.